On another beautiful morning in Washington DC, we've come out to Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is the home of George Washington, the first president of the United States and the leader of the War on Independence against the British. Whoops. We are up at Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is a real historic area. It's where George Washington lived, it's where his house is, and it's a huge 500-acre plot. So we're going to go and explore it all, and you guys should come with us. Directly behind me is George Washington's mansion. So the first stop is doing a tour of the mansion itself. So let's go and get in the queue, go and tour the mansion, check out where Washington used to live. Just finished the tour of Washington's mansion. Unfortunately, you can't really take film or photos in there, so I managed to sneak a few cheeky clips, which you will have just seen, but you can't really take proper footage whilst you're in there. So there's a few cheeky clips of Washington's mansion. Really cool to see where Washington lived. The mansion expanded over the course of his life until it is like it is now. It was originally his father's house and then was passed down to him, and he expanded it as he became wealthier and became the president. So as Washington was the first president of the United States, at this time slavery hadn't been abolished, so Washington had slaves. And as we walk in here, this right here is where Washington's slaves lived. So this is their the women's room. So there's 10 bunk beds where the female slaves would live, and they would cook and clean and have a fire over here, and these were their quarters. So and here's where all the male slaves slept. Between 10 and 20 black African-American male slaves would sleep in this room. This right here is the stove room, and ingeniously it provided heat for George Washington's greenhouse so that his exotic plants and tropical plants like orange trees and lemon trees survived during the harsh Virginia winters. So a slave would keep this fire going day in, day out from autumn to spring so that the greenhouse would survive. Amazing. This building here is the wash house where 2 slave women, Vina and Dulcie, would do all of the Washington and their guests' laundry. And it was one hell of a task. They did 6 days a week of solid work just doing laundry. So here's one of Washington's cars. Obviously a horse-drawn car, but this was the carriage of the day and age. So Washington's estate was set right on the Potomac River. Beautiful views out across the river. Not a bad place for Washington to live. And this right here is his own personal little fishing dock. Not only was Washington an inspirational leader, a fantastic army general, he was also a really good farmer, and most of his estate, which we are on in Mount Vernon, is farmland, which includes these beautiful longhorn cattle, which is pretty cool. Right here in this tomb is where George Washington lies. Herein lies the remains of George Washington and his wife and the family tomb. Guys, check it out. In George Washington's garden they're growing chilies. Oh, we've got one of Washington's chilies. So once you've toured all the grounds around Mount Vernon, you can come into the museum where you can learn more about George Washington's life. And directly behind me here, this is a recreation of George Washington at the age of 19. And they've used modern techniques to reverse the aging process and create this lifelike model of Washington at the age of 19. And here's George Washington at the age of 45 riding one of his trusted horses during the American War for Independence. These right here are George Washington's actual dentures. He wore these whilst he was president at the age of 57 until his death in 1799. And finally there's Washington, aged 57, being sworn into office as president. So after walking around Mount Vernon and the museums, which were incredibly interesting, learning more about George Washington's life, and there's also an exhibit on the lives of the slaves that George Washington kept, which was incredibly interesting, we've now come down to his mill and distillery. So obviously Washington was a president, a general and a farmer, but he was also a miller and a distiller. So he didn't start distilling whiskey until later in life, 1797, so 2 years before he died. But in the second year of distilling, he was the #1 distiller in all of America, producing 11,000 gallons of rye whiskey, which made him bigger than what was at the time Jim Beam whiskey. So if he'd carried on distilling and hadn't died, maybe he'd be as big as Jim Beam. The milling process, we are going to check out how to distill whiskey. After hanging out at Washington's crib all day and seeing where he makes all his liquor and how he made all his money, we were on the drive back and we saw Gravelly Point, which is a place right by Reagan National Airport in DC, where you can watch all of the planes coming in to land. And they actually come in right over your head, and there's one coming in right now, and it's coming in pretty hot. There it is, banking straight over my head. Woo! And that's it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video exploring all of Mount Vernon, where George Washington used to live, and then checking out some of the planes coming in over Gravelly Point, which is a cool place to have a picnic. Remember to give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button to follow all of the adventures, and until tomorrow guys, peace out.